So welcome everybody to, I believe this is our fourth Next Gen webinar panel. So my name is Shelby Truxton. I'm the Vice President of Student Internship Experience here at the Nonprofit Alliance. And we have some amazing speakers here for you all to learn from and hear from about their journeys from school to working in the nonprofit sector. And so before we get started, I will ask that you keep your phones muted until we do the question and answer portion, which you can come off of mute and ask your question or post them in the chat. Other than that, it'll be a great conversation that we will have. And so I do want to go ahead and introduce our speakers today. So we have Asia Tongzi, who is the coordinator of supporter relations at USA for UNHCR, the refugee agency. We also have Stephanie Frazier, who's the account director at Avalon Consulting, and Sarah Rogers, account supervisor at NNE Marketing, as well as Nick Eppinger, who is the Deputy Director of Digital Advertising and Marketing at the World Food Program USA. So welcome to my speakers. We're happy to have you here. And so this will be just very conversational and just about your experiences and all of our, most of, I would say all or most of our attendees are either in school or just graduated from school. And so they want to know what it was like for you all. So I am going to start off with, since we're talking about or taking you from student to young professional, I do want to start with the question of that's probably on everybody's mind, and that is, where in the world do you look for a job or internship? So I'm going to start with you, Stephanie. If you want to tell us what you did. Where did you go to look for your first, whether it's your first job, first internship, or what did you learn from that process?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. It's nice to see you and meet y'all virtually. So I work in the consulting field now. So I am a consultant, meaning I do digital, direct mail, texting, all kinds of fundraising strategies for lots of nonprofits as well as Democratic candidates. And so when I was in college, I was really impacted by Dance Marathon. I don't know if any of you all have Dance Marathon on your campuses, but I went to Florida State originally, transferred to another school at the Virginia Commonwealth in Richmond. And there they were starting a new program. So I got to really get involved with the local Children's Miracle Network, which is a major hospital foundation in the country. And through that, I was like, I like this. I like working with kids. I think this could be maybe a potential career. I don't know. I want a job when I get out of college. And so I reached out through our advisors, and they helped me connect with specifically that foundation. And they connected me with a local hospital, which is Children's National in DC. And then I interned with them for a year. A lot of places need interns, even if they don't think they won't need one. They didn't have an offer out for any or looking for one. They only thought of one because I reached out myself. So it's always good to ask the question, hi, I'm really interested in your work and I'm really passionate about it. Is there anything I can do to help or learn? Or would you be interested in getting coffee at any point to tell me more about what you do? Sometimes in this virtual world, it's a lot easier to ask to meet via Zoom, and that works really well too. But I do think getting to meet people in person when possible really does help build that connection one-on-one. And I'm still connected with a lot of those people that I interned with. I've now transferred into the more consulting side. And I think starting in that nonprofit space, seeing how nonprofits work in the day-to-day really helped inform how I now work with them on the consulting side.
I love that. I love that you were proactive about reaching out, and looking, to basically taking control of your search and doing their outreach out to find out what's out there and what they have. So very good point. So thanks for that, Stephanie. How about you, Nick, as well?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Thank you for taking the time. So I studied history and anthropology, and going into school, I really wanted to become an academic. And I realized about halfway through that it just wasn't really going to be in the cards for me. My heart wasn't in it. I wasn't sure about the career path for it. And so, to be honest, the resources were pretty limited if you didn't want to go to grad school in those particular schools. And so I kind of had to do a lot of research on my own. Um, I ended up finding my first internship through the site Idealist. And I kind of just trolled through to see what was available in terms of internship opportunities. And I was lucky to land one with an organization in Philadelphia called the Urban Affairs Coalition. And so I did that part time while also working over the summer. And it gave me just kind of a base to build out and kind of a body of work to show to other organizations that I was applying for. And then my senior year, or junior year rather, sorry, I ended up joining an organization. I think it still exists at a lot of universities called Students Consulting for Nonprofit Organizations, where they would pair students with local organizations to do different business projects. And even though I wasn't a business student, I was still able to apply my writing skills, my critical thinking skills. And again, have some tangible work to show when I was applying for additional opportunities. And we actually ended up having a speaker come to the organization. They were from a digital marketing agency that was local to Pittsburgh, where I went to school. And I ended up staying afterwards and asking him just a little bit about the project that I was working on and some advice that he had, making sure that we were on the right track, and use that as an opportunity to ask if there were internship opportunities available. And ended up applying and getting that, and that became my first job, which I did for about 6 years before kind of weaving my way back into nonprofits. And so I think just again that proactivity is really important, and I think I agree with Stephanie too. Just making those in-person connections are really important if you can do that.
Awesome, awesome. Yes, both like really great advice, really great ways to go. And you mentioned my next question, and Nick, I'll stay with you, Nick, was just what resources you used to find and make those connections and to find those jobs. And I know you said Idealist. Was there anything else that you would call out as a good resource to find like nonprofit sector type
Mhm.
jobs?
Yeah, I mean, I at the time, LinkedIn also was really helpful. Just being able to filter for the industry and for the areas that I wanted to live was really helpful. And I think nowadays with different AI tools, it can give you a great starting point as well at scale. It wasn't available when when I was going through the process, but I think even just to get a starting point of different roles and opportunities that are out there, I think those are great places to start. I would also, like Stephanie said, encourage you to use your own networks, reach out to people, and I think one of the most important things is to show that you've done some research and not just make it generic, but really make it personalized and show why you're interested in chatting with that person, and show that you're really interested in what it is that they have to say.
That's awesome advice. How about you, Sarah? What resources did you use to look for your job or internships?
When I was starting to look for a full-time position, I graduated Hofstra University May of 2020. So a little bit of a different time, but I think that it's really undervalued how much your universities can help you. They offer job fairs, career fairs. I know that there's a lot of people that say they're managing, and I majored in business management. And I had no idea what I could even do with that. So I ended up attending a few different job fairs at Hofstra. And it was so nice to just talk to people and learn what they do and what kind of careers are even out there for someone with my interests. And I didn't get a job directly from any of those career fairs, but just taking the time to learn the different paths that you can take, because it can feel very narrow when you're in school and studying certain topics. Um, Pretty much anything that you could be interested in, there is a job for you out there. So I do think that you should lean on your college or university to help you kind of find that path that's right for you. I know that there are a lot of, I would say, career advisors that universities offer, and you can get an appointment with them and set up some time to chat. And then I also used Handshake when I was about to graduate, which is an app. I would say it's kind of similar to LinkedIn, but it's catered to Gen Z, and kind of how you communicate with the world and how we use technology. And you can find connections, you can network, you can even find jobs there. So I would definitely recommend an app like Handshake.
Yes, highly recommended. I may have met some of you all that are here on there or at some of the career fairs and job fairs. And like you said, even I like how you mentioned that even if you don't get a actual internship or job from the fair, it's also good practice just learning like to talk to people and meet people. And so I say if they have them to go. I wish that I did more of that when I was in school and I didn't, but I think you all would benefit greatly from that if you're able to. But speaking of, talking to professors and people at your school, Stephanie, we'll go back to you. Did you look to like your professors or TAs for advice on where to apply for jobs or internships?
Yeah, absolutely. So number one thing is office hours. Y'all, office hours are where you get to know your professors and where they really get to know you. And when you're looking for someone to give you a recommendation, you want them to know you on a personal level, not just the few answers that you answer in class, especially when we have virtual classes when there's like over 100 students in a Zoom box. And I know a lot of professors also have virtual office hours for those of us who go to school remotely. Um, but I had my professor look at 3 different resumes and then 3 different cover letters. And I think that's really something to think about is what kind of sectors you want to work in, whether that's public, in the government, private, or in the nonprofit sector, and having those 3 documents already ready that you can just tweak a little bit based on the job description sets you up so nicely when you graduate, because then you can feel a little more confident in getting that application out there. I also started applying for jobs while I was in school so that I would have time to go to my professors and ask them for feedback on things that I was hearing or not hearing back from, because they will respond to you once you graduate, but you are much more likely to get a response quicker if you're a current student or a very recent student. So definitely use your TAs and use your professors. They want to help you.
Very true. Yes, that's what they're there for, honestly. How about back to you, Sarah? I know you had mentioned using your school resources, but how about you add anything you want to add to that, as far as working with professors or TAs to find jobs?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with what Stephanie said. Your professors and TAs can be incredibly helpful when you start looking for your first job. A lot of them, depending on your relationship with them, like Stephanie said, going to office hours and building a relationship with them is super important, because once you have established that kind of relationship, a lot of them are willing to reach out to their own circle and their own network to see if anyone has any opportunities that would align with what you're looking for. I know when I was in school, I really had no idea what I wanted to do. I was considering law school. So I had a professor that taught law at a school in Queens, New York. And he was setting up meetings for me to like meet with advisors there. I had another professor that reached out to his network because his wife worked in the entertainment industry, which I was also interested in. And unfortunately, it was, pandemic time, so none of those worked out. Um, but I just think it's really important to invest in those relationships because, as Stephanie also mentioned, once you're out of school, you can keep in contact with those people, and who knows, one day you'll be looking for a job in that field, and somebody that could potentially reach out to their network.
Sarah, that's a good point. One of my professors is now my client.
Oh,
So
really?
the world is
Wow.
very small. And having those connections is really helpful. And now I lead as their client, and it's a really cool full circle moment. So as you mentioned, we all get to know each other and keep in touch, and it really does help.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
love that. Yes, yes. And it's yeah, like it's like you said, the world, it's a small world, and so you never really know. So yeah, start building those connections right now, and stick with them, when you can, if you can as well. But same with again, Sarah, for you. Um, so as graduation approaches, when should you start applying to jobs, do you think?
I think now with how the job market is, it can be extra competitive for people of our generation looking for their first job. Entry-level jobs, it seems like you need 5 years of experience for them at this point. So I would definitely recommend starting as soon as you can, maybe like early spring semester, or I would say late January or early February. And also I would start in the fall semester just by attending the career fairs, talking to your professors, kind of setting up that you will be looking for a job soon as you graduate. Everyone's path is a little different, but I think that if you're putting the effort in, attending panels like this to talk to other young professionals about what they're interested in, we can help each other and hopefully make this unpredictable job market a little more easy to navigate.
Yes, yes. How about you, Stephanie? Anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I actually graduated in the winter, so I highly recommend that, partially for job prospects, because there's a lot less new graduates coming out in January. And I started applying at the beginning of my last semester and interviewing throughout it. And then I actually was very, very lucky to get a job offer before I graduated. And a lot of the times that will happen even a few months in advance because they're looking at you for the long term. They don't always need a person 2 days from now. They might need someone in 6 months. They might not need someone in a year. So starting that outreach early and letting them know I graduate around this time, but I'm planning on taking a month vacation after I graduate college because we all deserve to celebrate. A lot of times they're very understanding of that and will work with you. So it's never, in my opinion, too early. As Sarah mentioned, the job market is very hard. I know one job posting, we recently had over 900 applicants come in a week. So as that relative, that was a junior staff member position. So it can be a very intimidating, but I think giving yourself those tools and starting early will help a lot get through all the AI noise.
Yes, yes. Something we did not, well, at least I didn't have to worry about it when I was in school either. So you all are in a whole new world, but yeah, but a lot of this advice, it's still the same. Starting early, relying on your networks. You can't go wrong with it basically. So all great, great advice. And so now let's move into life as a young professional, or what we call a YP. So we define YPs as those with 2 to 10 years of work experience in their field. Some others might define them by age, so those who are under 35, for example. But we're gonna go by the work experience. And so, with that, one thing that we all had to learn at this stage, and we kind of touched on it, and something we continue to learn and probably will never stop learning is networking. So, starting with you, Asia, how did you learn how to network?
Yeah, hi everybody. I want to echo literally everything we have been saying that networking honestly just starts while you're in university. It's something that you will just continue to keep doing. I myself am continuing to do this every single day, because as the job market is, it's unpredictable. But this is something that I essentially just kind of threw myself into. There was really no rule book with how to network. Throughout college, I had studied politics, and politics is a major that you can kind of take anywhere. It's like, do you want to go to law school? Do you want to go into politics? Do you want to go into academics? You really can go anyway. So for me, I just sought endless opportunities on career fairs, any type of diverse events, whether it was a conference, a workshop. It could even be any of those events that's not even in the political sphere, but into some maybe like arts and humanities, even some STEM fields, or even young professional events, etc. I endlessly sought those. I would go to, at my time, I graduated pre-COVID, or I was the last semester before COVID hit. So I had to do a lot of in-person things, which was really neat. So I went to a lot of career fairs, events within my area. Sometimes if I was taking a vacation, and I would even look for any like career fairs or networking opportunities in that area just to connect with those people. But essentially, those opportunities led me to connecting with a lot of people. And then from there, connecting with them, LinkedIn was very big. So making those connected connections, sharing those LinkedIn and just kind of having them. And then from LinkedIn, connecting with any organization, anything that shares a mission that you value, you think that you could see yourself working with, connect with them right away. And while you're connecting with them, connect with their HR team and connect with potential people that are on there, because essentially when you connect with LinkedIn, you also get connected to people and their network. That is really great for you when you're trying to network in the future, especially if you're thinking about changing careers. So LinkedIn was really good. Aside from LinkedIn, something that was really interesting is that a lot of organizations will have situations like this, what we have today, where they have different panels, webinars for you to join. So continue connecting off of those. And then even if you're not someone who's a big talker, just going and being in those atmospheres allows you to, one, just kind of learn how to talk to people, meet people. It gears you up for future conversations that you can use in the future, and so on. I'm so sorry. Is my, can you guys hear me good?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
good, good, good. Okay, just wanted to make sure. I was like, wait, can everyone hear me? And another thing too, I know there's like some people typically don't like to, networking isn't something they're used to. Sometimes it could be, a little bit scary talking to someone who is at a higher level. So sometimes bring a friend, go with your group, make it a thing. You guys kind of go at it together. You're not doing it alone. It kind of eases the tension off of that. So, yeah, don't be scared to network. It's something we're always doing, and you guys got it.
Love that, and so true. And I love that you spoke to those who might not be natural, what we call extroverts, and want to talk, and but we all have to do it. And so it's good to remember that we all belong there. There's a place for everybody, and and really it's just getting to know each other. And that's kind of what you touched on. I think Nick and Sarah, you both made some really good points about personalizing your connections. So why don't you both elaborate on that? I'll start with you, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the main piece of advice that I would give and that I've learned is to try not to make it so transactional and to just make it seem friendly. Whenever I'm approaching somebody at a conference or an event, I just treat it like, they're kind of in the same boat as I am. They might be a little nervous or uncomfortable, but we're both in this together, and we can be friends as well. And so I think it's not to say that you shouldn't ask professional questions or make professional asks, but I think not putting so much pressure on the interaction just makes everybody feel more at ease. And at my first company, which is a for-profit digital marketing agency, there was a salesperson who could talk to literally anyone and was incredibly good at his job. And most of the time when I would see him networking or I'd be with him at events, he was just being friendly and talking to people about their dog or their interests. But at the end of the day, he was also able to make those professional asks as well. So I think just treating it as a friendly interaction and trying to maybe bring the pressure down always helps me in terms of networking.
Love that. So true. It just takes the weight off, So true. So Sarah, what about you? How your thoughts on networking and or personalizing your connections?
Yeah, definitely. I would say, I mean, just to piggyback off of what has been said already, it's so helpful to remember that the people you're talking to are people with lives and families and hobbies and interests. You definitely, it's so much easier when you're not looking at it as a transactional interaction and just trying to get to know them as a person. And also those skills can carry you into when you do have a job. I know that my first position at NNE Marketing, I had a really hard time like understanding that the clients that I'm working with are just people. And I was really nervous to talk to them and to try to establish that connection with them. But they have families, they have lives. Just like small talk about the weather can really open up some doors. And then it can really help you when you're looking for that next position down the line of you have all these resources of people that not only have worked with you and can vouch for your work, but they know you as a person and you'd had some decent conversations. So I think just as much as possible, relax and lean into it and just have it's just getting to know someone new. It doesn't have to be a transactional high stakes interaction, just something to get to know people better.
Yeah, very well said. So true. Like Stephanie, I know I liked your four-step approach that you gave for starting a conversation with a more tenured professional, as Sarah mentioned and alluded to, when you're talking to someone who's, say, they might even be the CEO, or they're just at a higher position, and they're higher than you. Like, what are those some steps you can take to make those conversations more doable? So why don't you break that down for us, Stephanie?
Yeah, absolutely. So I, as she mentioned, have a slight four-step solution. Thank you partially to ChatGPT for helping me refine it. But the first thing is start with curiosity, not your credentials. A lot of people want to know, why are you talking to them? What are you interested in? Because we all have been those kids graduating from college who have no clue what we want to do or no clue what the next step is. And most people have good intentions and most people want to help because they had people who did it for them. So starting with that curiosity and why you're interested in talking to them, making it personal but professional, finding a few things that connect. So whether they spoke recently at a conference or a webinar, whether they work with a client that you're really interested in, or I talk about football with one of my clients who is 30 years older than me every single week at the beginning of our call because I know that's what they like to talk about. And I love football too. So finding things that are you typically apolitical, highly recommend starting with something that is more broad so people feel more comfortable to come to the conversation, and then honing in on that personal professional balance. Be clear about your intent. Are you looking to talk to them? Are you looking at jobs at the moment right now? Or are you just wanting to learn about what their day in the life of working is? I really liked Sarah's mention is that most people don't go into what they major. Like, your major is not always what you're going to be doing for the next however many years we all have to work. I was public relations major. I did PR for 6 months and realized absolutely not going to be doing that for decades. So it's always okay to shift, and it's always good to know what your intent and what your goal is. If any of y'all watch Scandal, I'm dating myself here, but the number one question is, what do you want? What do you want out of the conversation, and how can you help yourself, and how can they help you? And the last one is respect their time. Low pressure asks, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. Don't go in asking to go out for lunch. Maybe it's a coffee. If you're at a conference, offer to go grab coffee right next door, or just sit with someone at lunch. Sit with someone new. I loved Sarah's mention about going with a friend. I have a very close friend who works in another organization, and we talk all the time about strategy, about clients, about opportunities for each other, because the more we lift each other up, the higher we all rise. So if someone gets a job that you really wanted, because trust me, it's happened to me with truly one of my best friends, it's okay because that was right for them right then. And they can help teach you how to help you find the next one. So just respect people's time, be clear about your intent, make it personal and professional, and start with your curiosity, not your credentials.
Love that. Love that. So thank you for that. And thank you, ChatGPT as well. It's very useful at times, but it's all true, and it's stuff that we've learned just by doing it as well. So, um, awesome advice, awesome discussion. And so I'll move to something that some of you have alluded to, just that we all face, all of us, while whether we're in school, out of school, we're always going to be facing new things, and it could be scary. especially when it's new, you've never done it before. So I want to start with you, Asia. If you can share, what's one thing you've done in your professional or educational life that has scared you the most?
Yeah. Um, so for me, this answer is simple but scary. But for me, it was following my passion and just believing in myself this entire journey. Um, Throughout college, and into my early career, mid-career, it has not been linear at all, let me tell you. As someone starting college, I can tell you right now, 10 years ago, I did not see myself being where I am now because the journey is never linear. And you're probably thinking, like, why is that scary? Well, for me, it's very personal. I'm the daughter of refugee. I'm also a first generation graduate. I had no roadmap. All I had was just my passion to make a change in the world. So I spent my career working in the humanitarian sector, working with nonprofits to help uplift the lives of the migrant and refugee community. This was my passion, and growing up, people would tell me, do not follow your passion because your passion can change. But for me, it was my passion that fueled me to continue going. It was my passion that helped me shut out the feeling of imposter syndrome that I've felt over throughout the years. It was my passion that helped me realize that I deserve to take up space in this sector. And it was my passion that even led me here to be able to give the chance to speak to you guys today. So it was that passion, that fuel to just kind of keep going, following this journey without even knowing what the next step was. What's the next step in my career? Did I make the right step by choosing this field? Did I make the right step by choosing this organization to work with? But at the end of the day, continuing this journey and remembering my why I started to even become a humanitarian, why I even started to join this, my family's history, my personal journey through this has kept me going. So if I could leave you with anything, it's just always remember that why, no matter where you are, if you're still in school, if you're starting your early professional, remember your why, and you'll never be too far off of the path, but remember, it's not linear at all whatsoever.
Thank you, Asia. That's very needed. Sometimes I think I still need to be reminded of that. Even been working for years, but sometimes we all have to tell ourselves like, "Oh, wait, there is no, oh, it's supposed to be this way or go this way." Things can change, but you can still end up where you need to be. So kudos to you also for following your gut and your heart and your passion. And that's why you are where you are today. So awesome, awesome. Sarah, how about you? What's one thing you've done in your career or your journey that scared you?
I would say the scariest thing that I've done in my professional career, because it is still pretty early. I just started working in the nonprofit sector when I joined NNE Marketing in 2022. So in 2023, I was invited to go to my first Bridge to Integrated Marketing and Fundraising conference. So that was in 2023, and I work completely remote. So the idea of going to a very large conference in a space that I'm not yet familiar with coworkers that I have not met in person, uh, it can be really, really intimidating. And then just adding in that we're all scared to network. It seems like it's a really hard thing to do. Um, it kind of just put me to the test. Um, and like Asia mentioned, the imposter syndrome can really get you in a situation like that. Especially when it feels like everyone already knows each other. They've been in the business, they've been working in the industry, and then here you are just new and trying to learn, and it feels extremely overwhelming at times. So something that I did to kind of help myself ease into it is just set a simple goal. I set a goal to just get to know two new people. It didn't matter who. Um, and I ended up talking to a coworker that I've never met in person before. And we had a really great connection. We got dinner. I kind of latched on to her as my guide for the conference. And then I also got to know one of our production vendors because I work in direct mail. And it was someone more senior at the company, which just made me feel really confident and like, oh, if I can get to know this senior leader at one of our production vendors, I can get to know anybody because at the end of the day, they're just a person. Uh, you know, she lived in the same state that I grew up in. We had so much to talk about, and I never would have known unless I just put myself out there and said hello first. So it's totally normal to feel nervous and scared. I feel as though it's just really important to do it anyway and do it scared.
Love that. Yeah, that's just advice for life, right? Just do it anyway. And also remembering that others are probably and a lot of times scared too. So you're not the
Yep.
only one who's scared. That always helped me, like thinking like, you know what? They might be just as like scared. So we could just be scared together and just do this together kind of thing.
Yeah. And the feeling
Um,
doesn't go away. Even as you climb
yes.
in your career, you're probably always going to be a little nervous.
Yep. It means you care, I would say too, because
Mhm.
I compare it to people who like perform and they say what they, you'll hear these artists, famous people say that they're nervous every time they go on stage, and you're like, but you're a superstar, and they're like, yeah, but I just every time, and it's because I care about it, I care what people think and what's going to happen, and so it's perfectly normal. But it's good to hear that others experience it, so you don't feel alone. So yeah, thank you for that, Sarah. Stephanie, let's go back to you. So how do you manage the pressure of finding a job and comparing yourself to your peers? Because I think that came up before as well. So how do you manage that when that comes up?
That's a great question. So I did not know I was going to be going into direct marketing fundraising. I found this job because of a friend. So I think it's really important that friends can also help us as well as be our competitors at the same exact time. We were at the same position. We were both going for the same promotions year after year at the same company. And one year I got it, one year she changed companies and got a major change. So everyone has their own path. And I think that's really hard to know, and especially in our early 20s. I am 28, to be honest. I did not know I would have a child at this age. And I have a little 1-year-old and she's amazing. And that changed my path. And so knowing that I can no longer compare myself to my peers gave me a lot more comfort, and just knowing like I'm comparing myself to who I was yesterday and who I want to be tomorrow and what impact I want to make. So I think realizing that early on gives you almost a freedom to be like, maybe I'll apply for this job because why not? One of my friends just ended up in Dublin, Ireland, because she just applied for it and tried. And she's like, great, I'll go live in Dublin for 2 years. Like, that sounds amazing. So don't compare yourself, because we're all on different journeys. I know it's really, really hard when you find someone who got that job at the beginning of the semester and you're like, how in the world did they get it? I have better grades, I have X, Y, and Z, but that is their journey, and let them enjoy it and celebrate them so that they will celebrate you when it's your turn.
Love it. Couldn't have put it better. How about you, Nick? How do you manage that pressure of comparing yourself to others?
Yeah, I definitely suffered from this in a big way because I was the only person in my friend group to major in the humanities, and they all did things with very defined tracks like business or pre-med. And so I was the last person to actually find a job. I had an internship that I was working at, and they offered me a job the day before I graduated. And so I was really sweating the process. I'd been applying, not necessarily hearing back, and was getting quite frustrated. But I think the key is to own your story. So I might not have had a well-defined path to follow, but I found ways to apply my skills and grow into a career that I'm proud of. And it took me a little bit too to even end up back in nonprofits. So that was kind of what I had my heart set on initially, but I ended up working for 6 years doing for-profit work before I ended up making the transition back to nonprofits. So um, it's not always a straight path, but just own that story. Remember that comparison's the thief of joy. I look back and at how far I've become, and I'm proud of my story on its own terms and not anyone else's.
Love that. Well said. Well said. We all really are on our own path, and especially with social media, it's hard to remember that because you're constantly getting updates like, oh, this person got a job, this person, oh, now this person, but but you don't know their journey to get there. They don't know your journey either. And it's all personalized to each person. So yes, thank you both for that. So now is a good time before we get to like our last question or last couple of questions, depending on the timing. Now's a good time to post your questions into the chat for our speakers to help answer. And so you can, when we get to the end, last 10 minutes, I'll open the floor for anyone who wants to come off of mute or show us your beautiful faces, turn your camera on. Or you can just put it in the chat, and I can read it if you're not able to talk. But if now's a good time to just start formulating those questions and putting them in the chat so we can ask them later. So I will move on to possibly the last question. If we have more time, we might do another one. But I'd like to ask all of the panelists this question, and that is, how do you stay motivated when there's so much rejection and lack of response? And aside to the kind of to go with that, how do you learn to deal with that rejection? To be more specific, so I'm going to start with Asia on that one.
Yeah, I love this question because this is something just like with networking, we will keep doing, we will continue to get rejected throughout life, and it's just inevitable. So what's helped me the most with dealing with rejection is one, realizing that the worst thing that they can say is no. And two is that rejection is simply just redirection. Um, a lot of times, especially with, this job market, it's hard to always be able to find a job on the first try. I mean, it's hardly ever that I think I found a job. I just submitted one and I'm like, oh, I got the perfect job. No. Sometimes it can happen like that, but hardly ever. But I think that looking at it as rejection, as redirection, takes the harshness away from the whole experience itself. And there's been many times where I've felt that maybe I've been underqualified or even overqualified for a job and I've gotten rejected. And I'm like, how did I not get this job? I swear I nailed it. The interview went great. They loved me. I made even prior connections. Like, how did I not get this? And I just had to look at it as redirection. There was another opportunity. And, months later, there was a better opportunity that suited me. And looking at it this way just helped me stay motivated. It helped me to continue to apply to the next job, look for better opportunities, and take myself away from that imposter syndrome coming up that like I wasn't wanted because I was rejected. And also too, I think taking away looking at the position, um, maybe that helped me reject. Maybe I need to change my resume, look in another field or look in other ways, kind of redirect yourself a little bit more. So just never take it as a harshness that you're not wanted. There's an opportunity out there for all of you, and you're just getting realigned.
Love that. So true. Nick, how about you?
Yeah, totally agree. I think the main thing is to not take it personally, and that's much easier said than done. But I think it's always important to remember it's not necessarily anything you did. Sometimes it's just not a right fit. Sometimes there's a funding cut and priorities change. There's a lot of reasons that it might not have been the right fit at the time, but there will be plenty of other opportunities where you will be able to shine and that it will be a right fit. I dealt with a lot of rejection and ghosting initially, and I think when you're dealing with that, there's a tendency to make up for it in volume and just sending out masses of applications. But for me, the way that I've always found success is to try to slow down, take the time to think really carefully about your resume and your cover letter to make it really specific, to make those personal connections if it's possible to reach out to the person who's hiring. And when I did that, I usually at least heard back and potentially got an interview. So I think just slowing down, taking the time and not getting discouraged is really important.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. Sarah, how about you?
So it took me 9 months after I graduated in May of 2020 to find a job. The rejection and ghosting and just lack of response was so hard. And as everyone else has been saying, it's, really important not to take it personally. I also think it's just really important to let yourself be frustrated, and let yourself feel those feelings, but don't let it stop you from moving forward. I think I applied for 200 positions in those 9 months and got maybe 15 interviews. And I got one offer at the end of that. It's just timing, and you will end up where you need to be, because if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be in my current position, and I probably wouldn't be working in the nonprofit sector, which I have found so much joy in, and I really enjoyed the position that I have now. And I wouldn't be here if I didn't have to go through that giant uphill battle after graduation. So your first job out of college doesn't have to be your dream job, but it can still be a valuable stepping stone. My first job was a office admin for a biotech company in Boston. Definitely not what I was planning on doing, but it gave me some networking connections, and it gave me a lot of valuable skills that I was able to transfer later. So, just keep going and let yourself be frustrated, but don't let it stop you.
Wow, yes, so true, Sarah. Thank you for that. And Stephanie, how about you? Last but not least.
As everyone said, rejection's hard. It is, and it's okay to own that it's hard. And especially if this space in this time specifically is very difficult. And I think it's important to note that and maybe set some expectations for yourself before you start your journey. It's okay if it takes 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year to get that dream job. But maybe give yourself some check-ins. Like, I want to apply, just keep going for 3 months. At 3 months, I want to take a break, look at it, take a bigger picture perspective, and see what can I reflect on and shift. Because rejection doesn't close the door. It teaches you how to knock more confidently the next time. Because we all are rejected. We have all gone through it. Every single person has been rejected from a job, even if they say they haven't. So know that it's going to be okay, because there are other opportunities. Also, in this amazing virtual world, don't limit yourself to a company in one specific location, because a lot of companies like to hire people who live all over the country. Our company is fully remote, and we have people who live all over. And we come together once a year at a retreat for 3 days. That's the only time we all see each other in person, but it is really amazing that we have people who can live where they want and do what they want and live their best life while working for a company they care for. So just know rejection's hard, but keep going, because it will work out in the end.
Well said, well said. And so true. I like that you mentioned the fact that actually, this day and age, there is more, I guess, opportunity in the sense that remote, we didn't have that at all when that wasn't an option. Like, you were either going to move to where you were going to work, or you were just going to apply to whoever was around you, your location. So yeah, thank you for mentioning that, because that's true. You all have a nice opportunity to find opportunities in so many different places now that everyone is also more open to remote work, because that also was not the norm for a lot of us as well years ago. So thank you. Very encouraging, very good advice. Um, and so now I do want to open up for questions. I do see there are a couple of questions in the chat. So Sydney, I see your question there. Did you want to come off of mute to ask your question?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Hello.
Hi. So, I've really been loving my summer internship. It's been so much fun. I've been doing it with the NC Center for Nonprofits, if y'all have heard of that. But my boss has mentioned a couple times me potentially working there after my internship, but he hasn't really given any specifics. And I wasn't sure about, I guess, how I could go about asking him for more information, or like around what time I should also ask. Like, I'm assuming maybe closer towards the end, but if you guys have any advice, I'd really appreciate it.
Yes, awesome question. So anyone want to take that?
Yeah, I can jump into that. Um, I would say, based off you said it's a nonprofit, like I know my organization, we're going through budget right now for putting in positions and everything. So I would say bring it up now. It's never too early or late. We actually have two interns that are doing a summer internship that want to continue on with us, and we have a few positions that we be opening up late in fall. So definitely like letting us know because there is a big number, but just putting yourself out there lets them know to, notify HR so they can know that you're coming on board. So I would say let them know and kind of like maybe, you probably still have to go through the process, start gearing up your resume, writing a cover letter to do everything to submit it. But it's never too early to let them know that you want to stay there.
Great, great. Nick, I think I saw your hand go up too. Anything to add? No?
No, that was exactly what I was going to say.
Great. Awesome, awesome. Well, I hope that answered your question, Sydney. Thank you for your question too. Llewellyn, you also had a question. Are you able to come off of mute?
Hello.
Hello. What was your
Okay.
question?
My question is, company cultures and nonprofits is such that everyone has an eye on the company goal and they're invested in reaching that, usually a needed service in the community. Are there keywords that I could look for in job descriptions that would clue me into the work environment or company culture in
That's a
that
good one.
respect, if you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I get it. Does anybody want to jump on that one? Keywords to look
Jump
for
in
that let you
from
know.
a
Yeah.
nonprofit consultant side, which is slightly different. I wouldn't say there's specific keywords, but I do think that companies that are very focused on their values make it well known. They advertise it. If they believe in what they're doing and they care about their people, they will tell you. If if you feel like someone is hiding something from you, trust your gut, because I think it's really important to trust how you read things. Because in this virtual world, there's so many scams, there's so many people who might be looking for not the right thing or are looking to take advantage of a younger person and looking to see if they'll work 60 hours a week. And sometimes that's not what you're capable of giving. So trust your gut. I don't think there's a specific word that I would look for at least, but I would say read it and think about what you think that person feels about their job that wrote that post. Also,
Very
Glassdoor
good.
is still a thing, and Glassdoor does have some really good reviews that are very, I will say they are the most extreme views. Typically, people who write an open table review for a restaurant either love it or hate it. They don't go, meh, it was a good food. I'm going to go post about it. They're going to say whether they love it or hate it. So take it, but don't take it as like the be all end all. Someone might just have had a bad experience.
So true. I was wondering if it was still a thing too, but it did come in handy in the past. So
Oh yeah, I used it last year and I found some very interesting posts on there.
yeah, yes. If nothing else, you will hear some interesting
Also
stories
Reddit.
on there.
Reddit also has job streams and nonprofits have specific Reddits. So if you all are into Reddit, maybe take a look at that nonprofit's Reddit and see what's posted there.
Good one. I didn't even think of that either. Asia, I see your hand up too.
Yeah, I was to kind of go along with this. I would also say LinkedIn now, I believe, has like a company kind of page where people kind of working there write their quotes and like while they're working there. One thing I've noticed for people is their messaging on LinkedIn. Like they will message someone to kind of have a coffee chat with them, to kind of have a conversation, see how the work culture is. Um, More than enough people will have those coffee chats with you. You can talk to them and see how things are. One thing that my organization does, we participate every year in the greatest workplace survey. I believe some organizations do that, so that's another thing. And then also too, if you are looking for just nonprofits, even looking at like the BBB, the charity navigations and stuff like that also gives you a big idea because more than enough, if those ratings are high, then the company does, hold their values. But if they're low for a reason. So yeah, utilize those reviews from people, but try looking at different work surveys, Glassdoor, And yeah, speaking to people who've been at the organizations and following the HR team. They'll even tell you, even maybe talking to an intern that used to intern there, they'll tell you how it was when they were working there, and they'll be honest. So yeah, utilize those connections.
So true. So many different resources now. Yeah, thank you for that. Llewellyn, does that answer your question? Hopefully that does.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Any other questions? I don't see any more in the chat, but does anyone want to either post something or come off mute to ask your question? We still have a few minutes. No? If not, I will ask all of you, anyone, any of the panelists who want to jump in. This is one of the questions that the original question is, what benefits do internships provide? And like, does it matter what industry you complete your internship in? But I want to expand on that and say, what would you say is the benefits of working in the nonprofit sector? So any of our panelists want to just share, either what you love about it or what the benefits are of it, just to give the students an idea of, why you like what you do, basically.
I can go first. I work at a marketing agency that only serves nonprofits. And I feel like that's a really great opportunity to look into, working with an agency, because it gives you an opportunity to work with multiple nonprofits at the same time. So I currently work with the American Lung Association, the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, and Boys and Girls Club of America. And it's a different experience with each group, but you're also networking with each client. You're getting to know how the ins and outs of each nonprofit, and it feels like you're making a real difference, to be able to help multiple organizations at the same time. So if maybe you're not sure what kind of nonprofit you want to work for, consider looking at an agency that works with multiple and gives you kind of a wide array of experience.
So true. That's how I got my start as well. It was, but not an agency, but it was a association management company, which is to me is like an agency in a way. And that's how I discovered that this was even a career path, because I was working on all these different groups. And I'm like, man, like what is this? And then from there worked for an actual nonprofit and just loved it. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Anyone else?
One thing I'd say is we work to live, we don't live to work, but it's really nice when you enjoy your job, because we all have to do it and we all have to do it for decades. So it's really important. And I think it makes the day a lot easier when you are passionate about what you get to do every day, because not everyone has that opportunity, and it's a real privilege.
So true. So true. Asia, Nick, anything you want to add?
I mean, like Sarah, I also worked at a nonprofit marketing agency, and it was really fun just being able to work with different sizes, different missions, and I actually ended up at this job because a former client of mine reached out and recruited me for it. So yeah, it was great to see a lot of different kinds of organizations, and I think even working in house now, it's the sometimes the resources are limited, and that can be really challenging, but it also provides opportunities to wear a lot of different hats and try out different things, and has given me opportunities to expand my skill set beyond what I came.
Yeah, that's another great point. And it just internships in general are a great way just to try things out, see if you even like it. But yeah, that agency culture, or like, where you work with different clients, it's like it really is like you're just all over the place, but it helps you hone in, I think, a little quicker with what you like and what you don't like when you're just able to try so many different things. So so true, so true. Asia, anything you want to add before we go?
Yeah, I mean, just echoing everything everyone's saying. I mean, I think that nonprofits is sweet. I've been in nonprofits my entire career, and for me, just the nonprofits fit along with my story. I get to pay it for every single day. I help another family the same way my family were helped as refugees. So, I get to contribute to that community, and also build communities every single day of my life. So, it's a blessing to me to be able to do this and follow that passion. So, I would say nonprofits are communities. So, if you're looking for anything, if you're not looking for anything, the one thing you will find by working with a nonprofit is a community of people. So I'll leave you with that.
Love it. You wrapped it up perfectly because that describes us like perfectly. So that is it, everybody. We will let you go. Thank you, Asia. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Sarah, Stephanie. This was a really great discussion. You all gave so much good advice, different perspectives, different experiences. And I hope that for you all, I hope that this really was helpful. And that you just take at least one thing, if anything. I hope you take at least one thing away from this. I'm taking things away from it as well, and I think it's always good to have these discussions. And so, like Asia said, this is the community. It's a big industry in a sense, but it's small also. And so anytime you want to have those discussions, we love to talk about what we do because we know it makes a difference. So thanks everybody. I will send you the recording of this afterwards, along as well as any other contact information if you want to get in touch with some of our speakers as well. And with that, I hope everybody has a wonderful day. So thanks again, speakers, too.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Everyone.